Picture this: you survive an atomic bomb. Then, 2 days later, you survive another one. Or imagine escaping the Titanic, only to board its sister ship years later. And watch that sink too. Some people seem cursed by coincidence itself. No matter where they go, disaster follows. Lightning strikes, plane crashes, explosions, shipwrecks, death over and over again. And yet somehow they lived. Tonight, we're diving into the most cursed people in history. Real people who survived disasters so insane, they sound completely made up. But every story you're about to hear actually happened. And trust me, the last one might be the craziest survival story ever recorded. Violet Jessop, the women who wouldn't sink. Imagine surviving the Titanic. Most people would never step on a ship again, but Violet Jessop did. In 1911, Violet was working aboard the RMS Olympic when it collided with another ship. She survived. 1 year later, she boarded a brand new luxury liner called the Titanic. You already know what happened next. On the 14th of April 1912, the unsinkable ship hit an iceberg in the freezing Atlantic. Chaos erupted. People screamed. Lifeboats lowered into darkness, and the largest ship on Earth slowly began to die. But Violet survived. She escaped aboard Lifeboat 16 and watched the Titanic disappear beneath the ocean. Most people would call that enough trauma for one lifetime, but somehow it wasn't over. 4 years later, during World War I, Violet boarded another ship, the Britannic, Titanic's sister ship. Then disaster struck again. The ship hit a German mine and began sinking rapidly. This time, Violet had to jump into the ocean to avoid being shredded by the ship's propellers. She smashed her head during the escape, but survived 3 ship disasters. One woman. At some point, people stopped calling her unlucky. They started calling her Miss Unsinkable. Walter Summerford, the man lightning hated. Most people will never be struck by lightning. Walter Summerford got hit 3 times. The first strike happened in 1918. He was riding horseback through Belgium during World War I when lightning exploded from the sky and blasted him off the horse. The strike partially paralyzed him, but 6 years later, lightning found him again. This time, Walter was fishing beneath a tree when another bolt slammed into him. Again, he survived. Again, partially paralyzed. Most people would never go outside during a storm again. Walter did. And in 1930, lightning struck him for a 3rd time while he walked through a park. This one completely paralyzed him. 2 years later, he died. Finally, it was over. Or at least, that's what everyone thought, because 4 years after his death, lightning struck his gravestone, splitting it apart. Even after death, the storm still found him. Austin Hatch, the boy who lost everything twice. Austin Hatch was only 8 years old when his family's private plane crashed into a power pole and exploded into flames. Austin survived, but his mother, brother, and sister all died. His father survived too, and together they tried rebuilding their lives. For years, things slowly got better. Then, in 2011, disaster returned. Austin and his father boarded another small plane. Mid-flight, the aircraft suddenly stalled and crashed into a garage. Austin survived again, but this time, his father and stepmother were killed. 2 plane crashes, 2 times as the only surviving child. Doctors didn't even think he'd wake up after the second crash. He spent weeks in a coma, then months relearning how to walk and speak. The odds of surviving 2 deadly plane crashes are almost impossible. But somehow, Austin lived through both. And today, he says surviving wasn't luck, it was responsibility. To live for the people who couldn't. Roy Sullivan, the human lightning rod. If Walter Summerford sounded cursed, Roy Sullivan sounded supernatural. Roy was a park ranger in Virginia, and between 1942 and 1977, lightning struck him 7 separate times. 7. One strike burned off his eyebrows. Another set his hair on fire. One blasted through his ankle. Another burned his chest and stomach. After a while, people became terrified to stand near him during storms. Even Roy himself believed lightning was hunting him. He once carried water with him, just in case his hair caught fire again. And somehow, every single strike failed to kill him. 7 direct hits from the sky. 1 survivor. Guinness World Records still lists him as the most lightning-struck human in history. At that point, you have to wonder if nature itself had a personal grudge. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the double hibakusha. On the 6th of August 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was in Hiroshima on a business trip. Then the sky exploded. The atomic bomb detonated less than 2 miles away. The blast burned his skin, ruptured his eardrums, and temporarily blinded him. But somehow, he survived. In shock and covered in burns, Tsutomu spent the night in a shelter before returning home the next day. Home was Nagasaki. And on August 9th, while explaining the Hiroshima explosion to his co-workers, it happened again. Another flash, another mushroom cloud, another atomic bomb, 2 nuclear explosions, 2 cities destroyed, 1 man caught in both. Out of all the people affected by Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Tsutomu Yamaguchi became the only person officially recognized by Japan as surviving both bombings. It sounds impossible, but it happened, and somehow he lived until the age of 93. Frank Selak, the man who cheated death. If there's one person who sounds completely fictional, it's Frane Selak. Over the course of his life, Frane survived a train derailment, a plane malfunction, a bus crash, multiple car fires, and several near-fatal accidents. In one incident, he was thrown from a plane after the door blew open mid-flight. Everyone else died. Frane survived. In another crash, his car burst into flames moments after he escaped through the windshield. Again, he survived. After decades of escaping death over and over again, people began calling him either the luckiest or unluckiest man alive. But then life added one final twist. In 2003, Frane won the lottery. After surviving disaster after disaster, he suddenly became a millionaire, almost like the universe finally decided to apologize. Or maybe it was rewarding him for surviving long enough. Maybe these people were cursed. Maybe they were unbelievably lucky. Or maybe surviving changes a person so much that eventually they stop fearing death entirely. But one thing is certain, the odds of all these stories happening are so absurd, they barely feel real. And yet, every single one actually happened. So now I want to know, which story disturbed you the most?